Okay? And Kate Fagan. Hello. Today, how this happened to the Cubs and Nats and Clinton. If the big man will win in the ALCS. And where to find somebody who loves you like a fake Twitter account making Mrs. Kamish.
Perfect.
Oh, man.
Good for her.
Mrs. Kamish. What is my life?
It's Around the Horn, the show of competitive banter. Here's Tony Repaly.
Cubs Nationals. So intense. So long. So weird. Bad pitching, bad middle relieving, fine. Blown leads, comebacks, that happens. Catcher's interference strikeout thrown into the outfield of the fifth during the Cubs' beginning. The tag play at first in the eighth, snuffing out the Nats' last rally. It's just weird. Clinton Yates, I got to start with you. You were there. Are you ready to talk about it? I think you're ready to talk about it. You're going to have to talk about it. Who is most to blame for the way the Nationals lost last night?
I think that's what's so problematic about this for longtime Nationals fans is that you have a reasonable case for every single element in this game. You can go to Dusty for what happened in the middle innings. You can talk about the fact that Jason Worth maybe should have not even been in this game at all. You can go to the Cubs and talk about how Wilson Contreras basically dominated this game. The reason why Trey Turner gets thrown out at the plate in the first inning is because he's only a step off, because Contreras loves to get down to those bags, as you saw evidence later in a play in which the umpires became part of the discussion as well. There was also the play behind the plate with Wieters. There was also the play at second base with Daniel Murphy and the potential interference. Everybody had a part in this.
So you're blaming everybody. I get it. I get it. But where are we today? This is a franchise that's never gotten out of this round while their potential has been well past this. How do we process all of it?
We process it by saying, Dusty, it was nice to know you, but you don't have a contract. Sorry, Playboy. We loved you.
So you're getting rid of Dusty Baker here. Kate Fagan, you want to join in this conversation?
Yeah, well, Clinton basically just recapped the entire game for us, but that's good for him. It was therapeutic. I'm going to hone in here on the Nationals. I think it was the Nationals that lost this game. This was a game that they could have won, and the Cubs left the door open numerous times for them to be able to walk through it, but they swung too early in at-bats. They didn't work the count. Every single moment where you thought, all right, if the Nationals are going to overcome this jinx that supposedly is on them, here's the moment, and they need to be patient. But instead, they looked like a team that actually did have a negative energy around them, and you could see it and feel it actually in the stadium as moments came, and you thought, okay, this was a moment where they have to be different, and everybody in the crowd is kind of like, how are we going to act? And you could see that feeding off of it. So to me, part of it is simply that they weren't getting it done on the field and in the moments, and part of it was part of the Nationals' lore.
Woody Page, are you with Kate there that you saw it with the Nationals, or maybe the opposite side that you saw the opposite from the Cubs and that they've been here before?
Sure, I think Kate was exactly right. I'm really interested after seeing the trailer of the 30 for 30 that Clinton's going to do on the collapse of the Nationals. But I would just say that one team looked like they had been there before. The other team looked like they have collapsed before and before and before. And you want to talk about Dusty Baker? He's not any good as a manager when it comes down to the final game. He's lost 4 in a row. He's like 6 out of 8, something like that. He just doesn't realize the moment and handle it very well, but the players didn't either. They didn't know it's too big a stage for them, and we saw that again last night. They were panicking when they were ahead 4-1.
Israel Gutierrez?
What if I told you Clinton Yates already told us everything that happened in this game? You know what I find? It's interesting to me because if you look at this and you want to place blame on Dusty Baker, you want to do all these things, how can you really do that, all right? If you want to go the route that Kate said, okay, they looked tense, it was, they had their history and it was weighing on them. It was Game 5 at home. This is what all these teams are probably feeling like when they have winner-take-all at home. You feel the pressure to win that. So maybe that's what they're feeling. And yes, the Cubs have been there before. They've won 4 straight closeout games, 3 of them by 1 run, and so that's what that, I guess, experience looks like. But really, you're talking about little details that would have been the difference between the Nationals making it to the NLCS and not making it, whether it be a replay of just the tiniest, which I don't think should have been overturned, by the way.
Yeah, can we talk more about that? Because we've seen this before, and we have on film, one frame at a time, a body part coming off a base and an out being called. Do you agree with that? Israel.
No, I don't. Like, I think if it's not clear and evident, like the NFL's heading this way now, more of the call stands, right? Allowing the human error to be a part of it. If there's not great detail in that replay, I think that should have been one of those in baseball, should have not been overturned. It was so close, and you had to go multiple camera angles. It's probably too much.
Clinton Yates, same question to you.
Don't get me started on this letter of the law versus spirit of the rule stuff. That is not baseball when you've got microseconds that are changing that are imperceptible otherwise to the human eye. It had nothing to do with the Nats. I've hated this call all season, no matter the team. Get that nonsense out of the game.
Kate Fagan, your opinion of it?
Yeah, well, I thought he had to call. They had to reverse the call because you actually, if you break it down frame by frame, you do see that there is a moment when the tag is down and his foot is off it. Now, I do want them to address it so that we can get back to the spirit of the law, but in that moment, you have to make that call.
Meanwhile, and I'll turn to you, Woody Page, the Dodgers are just hanging out watching all the madness. The way the series ended, Joe Madden can't have any faith in his bullpen except for Wade Davis. How much of a hole are the Cubs in going into this weekend?
Well, I think that they're the ones that are having to use all the pitchers up, that they're the ones that have been in these frantic moments. And the Dodgers, as you say, they've just relaxed there on the beach. They're enjoying themselves, and they have refound, if you will, they've rediscovered what they kind of lost down the stretch. And I think they're sitting there looking, man, they've wasted their pitching staff and trying to make all these moves. They were lucky to get some calls go their way. That we're in good shape sitting here because they dominated Arizona.
They may be in good shape. This is the team they blew a lead to last year, though, Israel. Who should feel better going into the series this weekend?
Yeah, no, I don't think the Cubs should feel very good. I know they just ran up 9 runs in this game, but really, if they would have lost that game, we would have talked about the previous games where the offense wasn't really there and that depth of that starting pitching for the Dodgers. I mean, it's quite dangerous, especially when you consider, like you said, the Cubs worn out their bullpen. They really need to jump on whomever it is early. I'm guessing it's, that guy. Clayton Kershaw, but I definitely think they should go into this feeling a little bit questionable about where
Make a pick right here. We're after the horn. I just need to mute faces by the end of this series, so let me hear it.
Dodgers.
Everybody, in unison.
Oh, Dodgers.
Cubs.
Okay.
LA.
We'll move on. Yankees, Astros. Tanaka Keuchel tonight, game 1. Severino Verlander, game 2. And Judge Altuve, if Judge gets on second base this series. Woody, where's the biggest advantages in the series?
Well, it's certainly not at a Ripley's, believe it or not, museum with the two of them in it. I would guess that if I had to, the Astros. I just think the Astros have proven throughout the course of the year that they have the better pitching staff, that even though we talk about the baby bombers and how well they hit, Judge didn't show me anything in the 2 previous playoff series, if you will. That one was 1 game. He had 1 home run, and otherwise he's looked like the guy who struggled down the stretch. I think that Altuve is the MVP if you go into the playoffs and include it in it. So give me the Astros. I like them.
Israel?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Astros, too. If you look at their offense, I mean, it's a historic offense, and they lit up the Red Sox basically from the first inning of every single game there. But it is interesting when you look at the Yankees and you look at modern-day baseball. They just won a closeout game with 16 strikeouts and won that game 5-2. All right, they have a great bullpen, which is how, you can win. Ask the Kansas City Royals there. So I'm not ruling out the Yankees, but I do think that obviously the bigger advantage is that Astros offense.
Clinton, biggest advantage in this series belongs to who?
I think it's the fact that the Yankees did not get much out of a guy like Aaron Judge in the last series, and they still managed to win. Not to mention they've got Brett Gardner, a guy who's got a lot of postseason experience. He's the vocal leader of that team. If Aaron Judge managed to get things back on track, I think they're better.
Pete Fagan?
The biggest advantage, I think, is the Yankees in the bullpen department, but I don't think that outweighs the advantages that Houston has in almost every other facet of the game, especially hitting, on base, the way they run. I think that in every other facet, Houston is the far superior team to the Yankees.
All right, same rules apply. You guys got to make picks. I have people
Yell
to
them out.
mute. Come on now.
Houston.
When you're doing these picks. Houston?
Houston. Houston.
We'll move on.
Houston.
Today's NCAA ruling on UNC giving North Carolina a pass, which is convenient because this is about passing grades under suspicious schoolwork. Panel essentially saying they don't need to weigh in because any grading advantage athletes got from advisors or departments, normal students got too, so no extra benefits. Kate, does the NCAA decision hold water to you?
Look, it holds water because there are always easy classes at universities, and athletes and students know what those easy classes are. I can see why the NCAA wasn't able to go in and decipher and parse out what to do here, but that doesn't take away the lack of teeth that the NCAA has and the larger point that they have administered to other schools here, which is essentially that you should water down your academics if you want to give an advantage to your athletic department as opposed to the other way around. You're seeing a drop in academics all around. It's also hard to understand why at UNC you've got the chancellor lost their job, whistleblower lost her job. You've got all of these people who had to suffer consequences, and yet in the athletic department, the NCAA overrule does not have the teeth to make any significant changes.
Clinton Yates?
What was interesting to me about this is that UNC managed to call the NCAA's bluff on their own rules. They didn't self-report or self-impose or do anything like that. They just said, you want to find something wrong with us, come do it yourselves. We'll work within these nonsense operations that you have. And they managed to get away with it. That, to me, is the most shocking about all this. At no point did they decide that they were going to tell on themselves, and it worked.
Israel Gutierrez?
Yeah, when you want to give credit to these coaches that do these things and have this success at these schools that have these, high educational standards, and then you realize that there could be some shady stuff going on there. That's frustrating. It's really frustrating when you read the NCAA's report saying, yeah, we are frustrated by the findings and the fact that we can't do anything about it. It's really slick. It's it's frustrating, and again, it's further proving that this college athletics is a big time sham.
Woodrow?
I like what Kate said. When I was in college, I followed the athletes on days of registration because whatever courses they were taking, I was grabbing some of those. And that's why I know so much about geography, and we never have had it as a category here. I think that there's something, as the guard said in Hamlet about the ghost, that something's rotten in Denmark, and that's true at Chapel Hill with the Tar Heels. We know there's something dark and dastardly there, but nobody's talking, and they couldn't find anything, and every school does have easy courses, so they were able to get away with what they did.
Here's where this loses me, all right? The NCAA is going to come down on a student athlete. And let's not forget, that's what they always call them. Well, let's remember the student part of this, in this part of this. $3 banana. Can't do it. No, you can't have a $3 banana given to you. That's not going to happen. Meanwhile, this is the actual academia of an institution. Kate Fagan.
$3 banana is very expensive, but also, in addition, the $18 million in lawyer fees is something nobody's pointed out, which signals that you can get away with this if you're willing to invest $20 million to pay for the lawyer fees, and that is something that only the big-time schools are going to be able to do.
Well, but didn't NC State just lose a player because they're now ineligible? That
That's
just crossed
messed up.
today. At the same time that an entire institution's academics, which has been under question for years now, just gets a pass. We're going to have pads right now. We're going to take buy or sell next. 2 minutes.
Never go fruit shopping with you, Repaly.
Buy or sell.
Eagles 28, Panthers 23. Philly is for real columns all over the place. 5 wins is one more than the rest of the NFC East combined. Woody Page, what statement did last night's Eagles win make to you?
Made a declaration that it's going to win that division as far as I'm concerned. And Carson Wentz proved to us he's a better quarterback right now than Cam Newton. I mean, you got to realize this guy, during the course of the season, has completed 30 first downs on third down plays, 10 of those for more than 10 yards. He just continues to impress. That defense is good. They got Fletcher back, and I think it's a team that is going to run away with the
Gutierrez,
division.
you say NFC East champion as well, like Woody?
I mean, I would predict that, of course. I would say, though, I'm not exactly sure what the Carolina Panthers are, so even though they have beaten a team finally with a winning record, I'm not sure if it's something you can really brag about. But when you watch Carson Wentz play, and even though his numbers weren't, crazy good last night, if you watch him play and then listen to his teammates talk about him, you know they've got a guy they can trust, and they're going to ride into the playoffs.
Clinton Yates?
That's really good.
As the lone person on this panel that picked them to win tonight, last night, I'm obviously not surprised. But the fact that they keep winning road games is what the thing that's the most impressive to me is. He's got 3 so far. He had 1 all the last season. Wentz is the truth, and the Eagles are for real.
Okay, although I know this is only your 7th show. Self-promotion is the mating call, the mute button, Clinton. Kate Fagan, how about you?
Yeah, the thing that I really like about the Eagles right now is their offense is more balanced even than it was in the first couple games of the season when they were leaning too heavily on the pass. And now their running game and their passing game, they're going about 50-50 on those. And I think that's really good, and that's the way they're going to win going forward. Now, I don't know how far on the limb we're going to say that the Eagles are going to win the NFC East, considering they have more wins right now than the rest of the NFC East combined. So I think it's a pretty good bet.
This is a great piece of information. I wonder if you're listening when I'm talking sometimes, Kate.
I gotta go.
But that's all right. We'll let it slide.
Why?
Speaking of the NFC East, buy or sell two of the Cowboys without Ezekiel Elliott for the next 6 games. What does it mean for their season, Israel?
Hopefully it means that he will actually sit out these games. You've got 3 tough games there against the Chiefs, the Falcons, and the Eagles that are probably going to be the most difficult contest. Whether they had Ezekiel Elliott or not, you're probably not going to be favored in those. When you look at this season, it's probably not going to be as magical as you thought it was going to be. Go ahead, take the L, serve the suspension now.
See why?
This is the worst case scenario for them. Starting the season with him, knowing what you were going to have, still not being that good. If he starts the season with just 6 games and you can figure out what you've got otherwise, and then he comes back, you're in a better position, Now they look like they're going to be not good, and he's not going to be there either.
Hey, Fagan.
All right, Tony, when you're talking, sometimes I'm thinking about what I'm going to say, all right? Like this with the Cowboys, I don't think Zeke being out is that big of a deal considering how many other bigger deals they have to deal with, like their inability to stop people on 3rd down. They have almost no takeaways this year, and the offensive line does not look as strong as it has in years past.
Somehow I managed to score you while you were talking and thinking about what I was going to say next. Woody Page, how about you?
Strong show, Kate. You're absolutely right. They weren't winning with him. I mean, he's not the reason why they're losing all the games. They could lose without him because their defense is so horrendous. They just can't stop anybody. They can't even win at home. So, I mean, they're going to suffer even more mightily without him during this game because they're now starting to play teams that are going to be in the playoffs. They're not.
Talked about the Chiefs, talked about the Falcons. Best case scenario, you're looking at 3-3 without Ezekiel Elliott, 4-2.
2-4.
2-4, maybe reality.
What
We'll
team
move
are
on.
you looking at?
Chiefs, Steelers, Sunday. Ben Roethlisberger coming off 5 interceptions. Coming off a week where he played Hamlet, Woody Page. He said maybe he's lost it. He said maybe he's won 2 Super Bowls in 100 games over the span of 2 days. Clinton, is this a bigger game for the tumultuous Steelers or the undefeated Chiefs?
It's got to be for the Steelers. Ben is trying to figure out whether or not this is still something he wants to do with his life in general. Arguing with teammates, calling them out on radio shows, never mind what happened in terms from an organizational standpoint with the whole anthem situation earlier in the season. This is a huge deal for the Steelers. The Chiefs are 5-0. They ain't got nothing to worry about.
Okay, Fagan.
If Roethlisberger is trying to figure out whether he wants to still be in the NFL, then he shouldn't be in the NFL. And I can't see a place where the Steelers get back on track if their quarterback is playing a season where he's kind of thinking that he wished he was retired. Therefore, the Chiefs are the team that I'm looking at where they actually have something that they're going to play for because they have all the pieces who are locked in.
Woodrow?
Well, Kansas City can afford to lose this game and still be in first place. So it's got to be about the Steelers. Have they totally faced a lost season, as Shakespeare might say, or is this a chance for them to actually come back and make their own statement that Roethlisberger is back on track?
When did Shakespeare talk about lost seasons? I'm just wondering. What
It was in the 1980s.
In the midsummer.
Lost weekend, maybe John Lennon. Go ahead, Israel.
Yeah, no, a loss to the Chiefs, the best team in football, arguably, is not going to make or break the Steelers, and it's not going to make or break Ben Roethlisberger. However, if the Chiefs lose to Big Brother Steelers at home, there's going to be all those question marks and all those people saying, maybe these are the same old Chiefs that we can't rely on in the postseason. I think it's a huge game for the Chiefs, not as big for the Steelers because it's not going to, again, drop them. It's not going to be rock bottom for them.
Not exactly rock bottom for Clinton Yates and Kate Fagan now, but their weekend starts immediately, which is a pretty good thing, right, guys? Thanks. Woody Page, Sergio Gutierrez showdown next. Sergio Gutierrez showdown. Get someone to love you like Mrs. Goodell loves her Raj. This is an incredible story. Jane Skinner Goodell defending her husband on a secret Twitter account. Woody Page, applaud a sweet gesture of a marriage or admonish social media shadiness surrounding the Shield?
Someone who's had some expertise in this field. I've never had any of my several wives support me in anything publicly, privately, on social media. So I think it's a grand gesture on her part, particularly since she has a background in broadcasting.
You know, I'm glad she went with the Jones Smith, the rare 2 last name handle. That one's pretty interesting. No, but the real story would have been if she was on there dogging Roger Goodell, if she was on there piling on with the rest of them, saying, that guy doesn't know what he's doing. That would be a marriage story I want to chime in on.
Almost like some of these Twitter accounts are not real. It's almost like that. Yeah.
You would know.
Showdown 2. Get someone who loves you like Jim Nance loves Tony Romo.
Pass of your career was a touchdown against the Eagles. Terrence Williams.
Was it the last pass?
Don't you dare start that.
Israel, you're someone who sees truth in all jokes, aren't you? If so, what?
Absolutely see the truth in all jokes, and I think there's some truth there. I mean, what has Tony Romo been lauded for since he stepped in that booth? Predicting what's going to happen. He just predicted he might throw another NFL pass. I'm going to take his word for it. He wants
Israel,
that.
Maybe it's a talent he's actually picked up since he left the game. He's spending more time in the film room. He's not coming back. He's found his home. People love him and what he's doing. He's going to be the new John Madden and John Gruden.
Period. Yes, okay, you ended on a kind of a question mark or an ellipsis there. You didn't stick the landing there, Woody. So that means Israel Gutierrez is getting a win he's waited a long time for.
Win number 100, I
There
believe.
we go.
So,
All right.
Something to celebrate, I believe. So, yeah, I'm trying to figure out, oh, look at that. It is something to celebrate. Trying to figure out what exactly, wow, what a weird gift to get for a number 100. But why we're celebrating this, right? Like, how do we even celebrate this when it's a game that nobody even knows the scoring rules? Like, nobody knows what Tony's doing there. I have a simple answer to this. I'm not going to get in, like, the Game Show Hall of Fame. I want an Emmy. We should have a category for Best Sports Talk Show Panelist. Do you know how hard I'd work on my FaceTimes if we can get an Emmy? Come on, guys. Let's get a category.
Self-promotion.
I want an Emmy.
Come back.
I got 100 of these. I got to